Om Shuklam Varadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Pashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varadhe Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir me sada Yenakshara samamnayam Adhigamya maheshwarat Kritsnam vyakaranam proktam Tasmai Parninaye Namaha Vakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Parnidhim Sutrakarancha Pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagarthaviva Sampriktau Vagarthav Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Namaste everyone, welcome back to class. We'll get started with our lesson. So if you remember a long time ago when Raja Ramchandra was king, we were talking about Panchami Vibhakti, fifth case. Right, so Vibhakti, so there's two types of word. There's Tingantam and Subantam. Now we're looking at Subantam. Within Subantam, we talk about Pratipadikam and Supratyayaha. Pratipadikam is the nominal root, the root for the noun, and then you have the Supratya, the nominal suffix. Now within the Supratya, you want to look at which case, Vibhakti, and you want to look at Vachanam. Once we look at Vibhakti, we have to look at all the Vibhaktyarthaha. So the meanings, artha of the Vibhakti. So I hope you see how the tree has unfolded. Within the nouns, we're looking at Supratya, the nominal suffix, the noun suffix. Within that, we're looking at Vibhakti. So to the answers, the little warm up on the screen, the karaka most connected with fifth case is Apadane Panchami. So Apadanam is the correct answer. Apadanam. Third, so actually that's second. I don't know where the first one is, but let's say it says number 3. What case is often connected with karana karaka? Karana. So karana means instrument. So instrument is which karaka? You can give me some physical fingers on the screen. I can see all of you today. Okay, third case. Yeah, third case. Now, the most common non-karaka connected with the first case is called Sambodhanam. Sambodhanam means when you're calling out to someone. So instead of saying Ramaha, you say Hey Rama. Hey Ramo, Hey Ramaha. So when you're calling out to Rama, you would want to use that Sambodhanam. Number 5, review the vocabulary. I'm not going to do that, but it's helpful. All the homework that we do is connected to essentially connected to the vocabulary under page 89. So a lot of them are very common. They come up in a lot of the Sanskrit texts. They also come up a lot in Vedanta. So it's useful just to review those every once in a while, get fresh with, make sure that those terms are becoming more and more familiar. Because, the grammar will help, but also some vocabulary building will help. And I know that might be difficult. So we can spend some time, reviewing that every once in a while. Okay. Let's chant our Rama Shabda. So you can chant with me. If you can close your eyes and do it, that'd be great. We'll just chant up to the fifth case. Okay, so Ramaha, Ramo, Ramaha, Ramam, Ramo, Raman, Ramena, Ramabhyam, Ramaihi. Fourth case, Ramaya, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyaha. Then fifth case, Ramat, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyaha. Okay, so Ramat, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyaha. So that's that Panchami Vibhakti that we've been looking at. So if anyone has a question, just feel free to drop that in the chat as we're going along, because I know it's been a little bit of time since our last class. Yeah. So let's do a little bit of review. So Panchami Vibhakti is again connected to Apadanam. Apadanam means origin. Okay, so really Apadanam has a lot of different meanings. The first meaning that we look at is origin of action. So the fruit falls from the tree. The fruit falls from the tree. The action originates from the tree. Therefore, that origin gets the fifth case. So vrikshat. Phalam vrikshat patati. The phalam, fruit, patati, falls from what? Vrikshat, from the tree. Since as the origin of action, we put that in the fifth case. Example number 2. The source of fear is also called Apadanam. Remember that? Okay, so Apadanam has a lot of different meanings. First one was origin of action. The second one is source of fear. All of these that we're looking at right now are page 81 in the textbook. Or sorry, page 80 in the textbook. Okay. So page 80 and 81 is majority of what we're looking at today. 80 and 81. So you'll see this example number 2 on page 80, I believe. It says, Devadattaha vyagrat bibheti. Devadatta bibheti. Devadatta is afraid. Now, what is the source of fear? The Vyagra. Vyagra, the tiger, is the source of fear. Therefore, it's in the fifth case. I'm laughing because there's a show on Netflix called Tiger King that's very popular right now. Devadatta is not the Tiger King. Ishwaraha dukhat naran rakshati. Okay, now notice, second meaning we saw was that from which one needs, or sorry, that the source of fear. Now this next one is that from which you need protected. Okay, so origin of action, source of fear, that from which one needs protected from. So Ishwaraha dukhat naran rakshati. So Ishwaraha rakshati. Ishwara protects. Protects who? Naran. It's the object of the action. Protects the people. Protects the people from what? Dukhat. That from which one needs protected is dukkha, pain. Since it's the source that there's that from which one needs protected, it's apadanam, and therefore it's fifth case. So it gets the status of apadanam, and then we can put the fifth case. So dukkhat, dukkhabhyam, dukkhebhyaha. Just like that. This next one, we missed one. Okay, so let's look at this one. This is example number 5. We'll come back to example number 4 in a second, but we saw this also last time. Upadhya. So the teacher of formal learning is also called Apadanam. Teacher of formal, and so teacher of formal learning is what we call Apadanam. So here it's an Upadhyayat Vyakaranam Adhite. So Adhite. We don't have a 1-1 here. So we need to add one. So let's say Saha. Saha. So Saha Adhite. He studies. Let's see if I can write here. So I need to add Saha. Saha means he. 1-1. Saha Adhite. He studies what? Vyakaranam, grammar. Who's the teacher of the formal learning? Upadhyaya. So Upadhyayat. So because it's a teacher of formal learning, it's Apadanam, and therefore it's in fifth case. Upadhyayat, Upadhyayabhyam, Upadhyayebhyah. That's a lot of syllables. So Upadhyayat, Upadhyayabhyam, Upadhyayebhyah, etc. Okay. Now, this next one, if you look, okay, I'll stop right after this one and I'll take some questions, okay? So this next one, cause of birth, is also Apadanam. Now this is on page 81. This is earlier, but you don't need to flip the page right now. Just look at where we're at. Another status of Apadanam is a cause of birth. So the origin of birth. Now that could be like a literal, like human birth, or it can be something like a desire. So anger is born of desire. With reference to the action of being born, anger is the one being born, and the desire is the cause of birth. It comes from, the anger is born from the desire. Because it's the cause or source of birth, it's called Apadanam, and therefore it's given the fifth case. So let's see another, the example in the book here. The example on page 80 is Jalat Kamalam Jayate. Verb Jayate, born. What is born? Kamalam. The lotus is born. What is the cause of the birth? Jala, the water. So Jala is cause of the birth. Therefore, we get the status of Apadanam, and therefore it's in fifth case. So first that status comes, and then the fifth case is given to Apadanam. Okay, so as a review, the first type of, the way that you can get Apadanam is origin of action. The second one we saw is the source of difficulty. What is it? The source of pain. Source of fear, sorry, source of fear. The third one we saw is that from which one needs protected. Vyagra. That one which, so dukkhat, we saw that example. The fourth one we saw is either we can say the origin of birth. And then the fifth one is the teacher of formal learning. So those 5 types that you can get Apadanam. So you can always remember Apadanam is connected to fifth case. And within Apadanam, there's 5 ways of getting Apadanam also, okay? Okay. Harprasadji, you have one question?
Yes, sir. Really 2 questions. One is, teacher of formal learning. Teacher of formal learning means a teacher who teaches formal learning.
It's basically a teacher. Any teacher of learning, like grammar or Vedanta, would take that status of
So any teacher, any acharya, I can say that, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And secondly, I mean, this is slightly not connected to the fifth case. When we use a non-karaka, we cannot give any uh, uh, we cannot give any vibhakt artha. Is that correct?
We still give, so the vibhakti still has meaning, but it's not a meaning that's connected to a karaka. So for example,
Let's say Hey Rama.
yeah, so you wouldn't say it's like kartari prathama. You would say it's sambodhane, or you would say first case in the sense of sambodhana,
Right,
meaning that it's not, yeah. So you still want to tell what kind of non-karaka that you're intending,
right. But
because
we cannot
sometimes there's
give
multiple meanings, multiple non-karaka meanings that can come up.
correct. So for a Sambodhana Prathama Vibhakti, uh, if it is a non-karaka, there is
Mhm.
no vibhakti artha.
Well, no, so there still is a vibhakti artha, because vibhakti artha just literally means meaning of vibhakti.
Right,
And so the meaning of the vibhakti, so we still add a vibhakti there, and the meaning is calling out. So it does have a vibhakti artha, but it's not connected to a karaka. That makes
okay,
sense. So we would just say first case in the sense of, so as vibhakti artha, we would say first case in the sense of sambodhana, calling out.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. If there's any more questions, you can just put a question mark in the chat if that's easier, or you can um, use the raise hand function on Zoom as well. Okay. So speaking of non-karaka vibhaktis, let's look at the non-karaka vibhaktis for fifth case. Okay. Fifth case is complicated, to be honest, right? Not only is there so many meanings of apadanam, but there's a lot of non-karaka vibhaktis connected to this, meaning that there's, when we have the fifth case, it can indicate so many other types of things that is not connected to a karaka. Okay, so just backtracking a little bit, when we have a karaka, in the vibhakti artha, in the meaning, we always have to say to which verb is it connected to. Because karaka only has meaning connected to a verb. For example, karta of what? Karta of the verb. Karma of what? Karma of the verb. Karana of the verb. Sampradana, apadanam, connected only to the verb. It only has a meaning connected to the verb. But we can also have a vibhakti artha that's not, doesn't really relate to the verb. So it's not a karaka. So for example, number one here, hetu. The hetu is a vibhakti artha, it's a meaning, but it's not, doesn't gain that meaning based on its connection to the verb. So this first one is hetu, cause. Can you tell me in the chat, what other case can we write the cause in? We've seen this before. There's another case which gives us hetu, cause. Yeah, so there's some answers coming in. The third case can also tell us hetu, cause. Third and fifth, there's no difference in meaning, but the fifth is just another way. If you want to say the cause of an action, then you can put it in the fifth case. When it's in the fifth case, it's called heto panchami. So you want to repeat after me? Heto panchami. Parvataha vanhiman iti dumat nyayate. Okay, this is the most Vedantic example we can get. The teachers always say this as an example of logic. When you hear this hetu, you know some logic is going on. Because something, therefore something. So that's why in Vedanta you see a lot of heto panchami and heto tritiya. Okay, so this example, right? It says Parvataha vanhiman iti. Iti means it's a quote. Parvataha vanhiman. Parvata, the mountain, is vanhiman, has fire. How do you know? So nyayate, that is known. How do you know that? Dhumat, because of smoke. So because the hill has smoke, therefore you can say the mountain has fire or the hill has fire. So it tells you the cause, or you can even say because. Notice there's a spelling typo. Because is spelled wrong. But that when you want to say because in English, then you would put that word in fifth case or third case. There's no really meaning difference whether you put it in third case hetu or fifth case hetu. Heto tritiya or heto panchami, there's no difference in meaning. So you often see either or. Okay, so let's look at an example in the back of the book. Why is Vanniman 1-1? Yeah. So let's go back to that. There's a question that I'm getting privately. Why is Vanhiman 1-1? Okay, so sometimes if you put a word in the same case, it gains the relationships of subject predicate. Okay, that's the grammar way of saying that. What does that mean? When I want to say Parvataha is the one who has fire, they're both indicating the same thing. The mountain and the one who has fire is the same object. Samana adhikarana. It's both are in the same object. The mountain, that word indicates the same object, and the vanhiman, the one with the fire, also indicates that same object. Therefore, you can put them in the same case. We'll learn about this later. It's called samana adhikarana. So parvata vannima, it's like an adjective in a way. Or what we technically call predicate, but if that word is not familiar, you can also see as adjective. Vanhiman means the one who has fire, Parvata, mountain. So the mountain is the one who has fire. Iti nyayate. In this manner, nyayate, it is known. How do you know that though? Dhumat. Because there is smoke. Because there is smoke, then I know that there's fire. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay. Let's go to the back of the book, page 174. On page 174, you'll see these examples. And we'll do one example of this. So we'll do number 6. Yeah, Harpasaji, one question?
Yes, sir. So if we are using heto chutiya, then we have to say dhumena.
Dhumena, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let me share this screen with you. It did not work. Okay, can you see this okay? Thumbs up? Okay, all right. So we're looking at number 6, Tyagat moksha labhyate. We're looking at the verb, Tingantam padam. Tingantam padam we know as labhyate. Dhatuhu is lab. Can you tell me the information for ting pratyaya in the chat? You can tell it to me privately so that everyone answers. So you would select my name if you know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, don't worry. The real question I'm asking is which prayoga? You can just answer that question. Which prayoga? Labhyate. When I'm looking for when I'm looking for prayoga, I want to see, is it Atmane pada or Parasme pada? This is Atmane pada. You get to see the A. Okay. Now that doesn't tell us anything, but do we see a yakara? Yes, we see a yakara. So we know Atmane pada is check. Yakara is check. Therefore, probably karmani prayoga. So lat lakaraha karmani prayoga. Third one. Pratama purusha ekavachanam. Wow, my handwriting is going sloping. That's why line paper exists. Okay. I'm trying a new light today, so I hope it's brighter for you. Okay, no one cares. Subantam. Now let's look at the 1-1. So what word is 1-1? You can mouth it. All right. Yeah, moksha. We got one answer. Thank you. Mokshaha. Pratipadika. Moksha. We know what moksha means. That's akaranta pullinga, meaning freedom. Best translation is freedom, not liberation or salvation or anything like that. Supratya, this is 1-1. Pratama vibhakti ekavachanam. Now the meaning, what's the vibhakti artha? Can you tell me in the chat? Now this should be a giveaway. What's the vibhakti artha? And I'm going to keep working on the next one while you're telling me. Okay. Are we in Karti or Karmini Prayoga? We're in Karmani Prayoga. Therefore, the first case is going to be Karmani Prathama to the verb, which is labhyate. Translation so far is freedom is attained. Right? Freedom is attained. Okay. Tyagat. Tyaga. So tyaga means renunciation, to renounce. Renunciation. Supratyaha. This is which case? 5-1. Vibhaktyartha. Vibhaktyartha kim. Kaha. It's kaha. Vibhaktyartha kaha. Yeah, hopefully this is a giveaway also. What's it called? It's not sampradana. It's not apadana. Why is it not apadana? Because here, this is not the origin of action. It is not the source of fear. It is not that one which remains protected. It's not the source of birth. Well, maybe the source of, no, well, it's not born from Tyaga. I mean, I'm sure the Vedanta, you can make that argument, but, and it's also not the teacher in formal learning. So it's Heto. Heto. Panchami. You don't need to write two because it's a non-karaka vibhakti. Okay, now we translate, okay? So we know mokshaha labhyate. Moksha is attained. Now tyagat, and we think that's heto panchami. So I would write because of renunciation. Any questions right now? You can just give a question mark in the chat. Moksha is attained because of renunciation. Okay? Renunciation of likes or dislikes, renunciation of our attachments, etc., etc. All right. Now let's go back to our book. We're going to go to, that's fine. Okay, so after Heto Panchami in the book, so this is page 81 now, page 81 in your textbook, you'll see Vibhakte Panchami. Okay, Vibhakte Panchami. And then we'll stop after this one. A thing or person from which another thing or person is differentiated or is distinguished. So when you're separating or you're distinguishing something, that from which you are distinguishing is given in the fifth case. Okay, so monat satyam vishishyate. So vishishyate is greater. What is greater? Satyam. Speaking truth is greater. Now, is greater than what? it's separating, we're separating satyam from which word? We're separating satyam from mauna, from silence. So because that's separating from which word? I'm separating from mauna. Therefore, that's fifth case in the sense of vibhakte, distinguish. The word even vibhakti or vibhakte, it means separating or distinguishing. That's why we have seven cases, seven distinctions, seven places of separation, right? This is this is, so that same meaning comes here, vibhakte. Okay, we'll finish here. Anybody have any questions so far? Our homework is in the book, numbers, I think it's 5 to 6 to 10. This one's on the board. Yeah, 6 through 10. Oh, we didn't learn all of these. Never mind. Okay, so no homework. We'll have to keep going next time. No Sanskrit homework. You can learn the vocabulary under Rama Shabda. So that's Rama Shabda is on page 89. That's always useful to learn that vocabulary. Why I'm saying we can't do this necessarily yet is you can do number 7, but we haven't necessarily learned prak, anyaha, bhinnaha, etc. That'll come in our next class. Okay? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. Okay, there's one question. Yeah, Neelamaji, go ahead.
When there was the word iti, so where does iti come? Oh, no, make noise. Where does that word iti come? Which non-karaka?
So iti, you can, sometimes they just don't translate it and it stands for quotation marks. When you want to say a quotation, you'll say the quotation and then you'll say iti, and all that stands before iti is in quotation marks.
I see.
So here she didn't translate it, she just put the quotation marks.
Okay.
If you want to translate iti, then you can say in this manner. Like the mountain is on fire, the mountain has fire, in this manner it is known. But
does it belong to any particular vibhakti, like Sambodhana?
No, it's avyaya, so there's no vibhakti. It doesn't decline.
All right, yeah. Thanks.
There's a question, how is Mona compared to Satyam? I suppose we're asking not in a grammatical sense, but in a philosophical sense, or in Vedanta. I think what she's trying to say is, instead of I wouldn't take this example too far, because often they'll say that Mona is better than telling the truth if it's going to hurt someone. If the truth will hurt someone, it's better to keep quiet. But if the truth is going to help someone, then Satyam is better than Mona. So you have to see, is the words I'm saying Satyam, is it Priyam? Satyam, is it true? And Priyam or Hitam, is it going to benefit that person? If it's not going to benefit the person, then I better keep quiet. Or if it's going to harm the person. But if it's going to help the person, then then Satyam is better than Mona.
So they don't use the Vada Shabda in there, like Satyam Vadami or some related.
No. So let's pull up that example. Here it is. Okay. Mona Satyam Vishishyate. No, so they just said, it's implied, right? When we say truth, yeah, so it's implied that we're speaking the truth.
Yeah.
When we say satyam, it's implied that speaking truth. So that vada is implied there.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yes, of course. Okay, let's take a few minutes. So just take a 2-minute break and we'll come back, okay? Let's go drink some water.